So you're thinking about moving from California to Clark County, Washington, maybe Camas or Vancouver. Well, this video is for you, and there's 7 things that you need to know. Hey, I'm Hannah Dubyne right here in Camas, Washington. And if you are living in California right now and you're thinking about moving to Clark County, Washington and Camas, Vancouver, Battleground, Ridgefield, this video is for you. I talk to people almost every day who are moving from California to Clark County, Washington, or thinking about it. And there are some things that have come up that I want to share with you, things that I didn't think of in the past and things that maybe they didn't think of because they didn't know. So I'm going to share them with you today. Okay, first things first, not every home here has air conditioning. Now, this is probably going to come to a surprise to you if you live in California where it's hot all the time and air conditioning is a necessity. But here in Washington State, it historically hasn't been hot enough to warrant having the air conditioning on every day of the summer, all summer long. We had summers that were 70s and low 80s, which for most people is a pretty comfortable temperature. However, as time has gone by, it's gotten hotter here. Last summer, we actually had a day or a weekend that hit 115 degrees, which was crazy. So we will see air conditioning become more staple in new build homes, but still you won't see it in all the resale homes. We also have a thing called heat pumps here, and you may not have that in California. Heat pumps do both heating and cooling. They suck the air out, and I'm not sure exactly what happens, but cooling comes from the heat pumps, so that's another alternative. But don't feel like you can't buy a home if it doesn't have air conditioning. If you find the perfect home, you can still buy it and put air conditioning in, but it does not come with every house here. Number 2, we have basements here in Washington. Now, particularly, this is a big thing in Camas because Camas is on hills, and I've heard from a lot of people who live in areas of California where it's really flat and they don't have basements. Well, we do have basements here. Now, they may not be what you're envisioning. A lot of times we have what's called a daylight basement, where if it's on a hill, if the house is on a hill and say this is the level of the ground, then you have this kind of half level beneath and you have a slider that opens out. So one whole side of the basement is open to the light and you can walk outside and everything. I would say that there's really not much else you need to know about having a basement, a daylight basement especially, besides the fact that you don't want to be in a flood zone. We don't really have a lot of flood zones here, and if you're at the top of a hill anyways, you're not going to get flooded, so it's not a big deal. But we do have a lot of homes with basements here. Number 3 thing you need to know is that we don't have an income tax here, or a state income tax, I should say, which is absolutely awesome. That means for anyone coming from Oregon or California, or honestly most of the states in the US, you get a 5 to 10% raise, especially if you are working from home and you're not going to go work in Portland. You get to keep that money in your pocket, and maybe that will go towards getting you the house of your dreams. The number 4 thing you need to know is about electricity. So electricity here in Washington State is really cheap. Right now for Clark County, our electricity rate is about 8.2 cents per kilowatt hour. And I have talked to a lot of people from California who are coming from the tiered system where it costs more at those peak hours of the afternoon and the evening. We don't have that here. It's just one rate at all times, and it's such a good rate compared to the entire United States because we are close to the water and we have a lot of hydroelectric power, so our electricity doesn't have to travel a super far ways. The 5th thing I want you to know if you're moving here from California is I want you to know about septic systems. I have met multiple people who have never heard of a septic system before and they didn't have them anywhere around. But basically what this is it's an alternative to your house being hooked up to the sewer. So if your house is hooked up to the sewer, obviously the waste goes to the sewer and they treat it there, and you don't have to deal with it. But if you live in a rural area, let's say you live in Battleground or Brush Prairie or Hawkinson, and you live out on a piece of acreage, well, to get the sewer line out there would probably be hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm not kidding. So no one's ever gonna do that. So what they do is they have a septic system, and it's basically just this tank and this, they call it a drain field, where all of the waste goes. and you have it pumped every couple years and it's rated for a certain size and everything, but it's buried underneath somewhere on your property, and that's how the waste is taken care of. A septic system, I haven't lived in a house with a septic system because I'm usually living more in town. Homes in town usually, unless they're super old and weird, they are usually hooked up to the sewer. But it's definitely a little bit of extra work to live in a house with septic. The number 6 thing you need to know is that we don't really have public transportation here. Now, if you're coming from California, you live somewhere really metro and where it's really dense, this may come as a surprise because maybe you take the tram or the bus all the time, but Vancouver and Clark County as a whole is really set up to be a car-centered city. So pretty much everyone owns a car here. Everyone knows how to drive here. There's not really a lot of walking options, and that's pretty much all there is to say about it. They just haven't set it up to be public transport friendly, and it's kind of a lost cause now. The number 7 thing you need to know if you're moving from California to Clark County, Washington, is that when you go out to the beach on the coast, a couple hours away, our beaches are really cold. They're windy and they're misty, and they're probably not like you're used to in California, but they're really beautiful. So if you go to the beach, you're gonna wanna bring a jacket and like a raincoat, and even in the summer, they can be pretty cold, but they're beautiful nonetheless. Hey, so I'm really glad you watched this video, and I hope you learned something new. And if you have any more questions about a possible transition from California to Camas or Vancouver, Washington, or anywhere in Clark County, I'd love to be of service to you. So feel free to text me, call me, DM me. If you want to stay up with me on a day-to-day basis, you can find me on Instagram at Hannah Dubyne, and I would love to connect with you there. See you later.